Hello everyone and welcome back to Invincible Guarding the Globe, and today I will be looking at who is better between the Viltrumites and the Coalition of Planets. So if you do enjoy today's video, then feel free to leave a like on the video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Again, thank you everyone for the support in the previous videos. Apologies there's not been too many videos in the past few weeks, but I appreciate you all, and yeah, without further ado, let's get straight into it. So the reason for this video actually is I've seen quite a few people commenting on my videos, which is great. You guys have been asking about, especially about a lot of new players asking about which heroes are good and which team comps are good, and I get a lot of questions about the Coalition of Planets and the Viltrumite specifically. There is also an event on currently based on the Coalition of Planets, so yeah, that's sort of prompted this investigation today. Now I'll obviously be going through the heroes here. I'm going to do some gameplay demonstrations as well, and basically just looking at each of the two groups, because in terms of the different, I guess, groups, factions in the game, in terms of building your squads, especially if you want just to have one of the strongest squads, obviously it's good to have teams for each factions. However, it's pretty clear that the Viltrumites and the Coalition of Planets are probably the two strongest factions or sub-factions in the game, and probably rightly so, because in the comics and obviously in the show they are all very powerful. Now that's not to say other heroes outside of these sub-factions aren't that good. For example, Universa is fantastic and will work pretty much in any team composition. Same with, for example, Shapesmith. So there's heroes outside of the faction that are still fantastic. Doc Seismic as well is pretty good, but in terms of like team synergy, I think definitely these two sub-factions definitely have the best. Now I won't be going into every hero in all of their details, however I will be going through each of the heroes and explaining briefly why they work well and why they are strong, and especially why they work well, for example, with the Viltrumites with each other and the Coalition of Planets with each other. Now another good example of seeing that these heroes are strong is because if you actually have a look in the PvP multiverse arena, you can see that in the Invincible League here, most of the teams are using Viltrumites, at least to some effect. Obviously in this case we can see there's the addition of Shapesmith and Universa, and on the far right there we can see an Immortal. So yeah, you can see definitely Viltrumites are very prevalent there. And if we also have a look at the current restricted arena, which is actually really fun, because they have restricted all of the heroes to only be 660 levels. So if you don't have them up to that level, they won't obviously be that level, but if you have them over that level, it restricts them down to that level. Now in terms of your gear and your artifacts and your skills you've leveled up, those are all the same. But it's been very interesting to see that sort of everyone's been given the same sort of level playing field, and as you can see here, it's a real mix mostly of Viltrumites, but there is quite a few teams utilizing Coalition of Planets heroes, which is very interesting. So if we have a look here, the first faction between the two of them I'm going to look at are the Viltrumites. Now the Viltrumites obviously are very strong, especially in the show, in the comics, and in the game that translates very well. There's a few reasons for this, mostly just they deal a huge amount of damage. However, they do have some weaknesses, I would say, and we can have a look at that here. So firstly, with any team composition, it's usually ideal to have at least one defender. You can play two, but it's usually just one is required. You can instead of a defender, choose somebody else, which I'll go over in a second. But in terms of defenders for the Viltrumites, you only really have one option, and that is Conquest. Conquest is fantastic. He has a huge amount of health, a huge amount of defense, and he has some great skills as well. So if you're looking to build a Viltrumite team and you need a defender, then Conquest is 100% your go-to. He is just fantastic at staying alive for a long time. The only thing is he doesn't really have any sort of regen options. He does have his totem, which does actually give him a large amount of life leech when he falls below 25%, in this case at level 12. It doesn't make that big of a difference, to be honest. The totem isn't that great, but Conquest is just great because his main ability deals a large amount of damage. It also gives himself a shield, which is great for keeping him alive. His second option just basically boosts his damage output, which is great. So not only is he great at being a defender and absorbing a lot of the enemy's attacks and damage, but he's great at actually dishing out that attacks as well. His third ability is fantastic for destroying any immunity barriers. So with a lot of heroes, the immunity barriers are very, very strong, and it can be very frustrating to play against them. But Conquest is great at breaking these. You do have to get the skill to level 10 to be basically every time he does a critical hit, it will remove the barriers straight away, but it's definitely worth it. And the third ability is just great at disrupting the enemy team. So in terms of defenders, Conquest is very, very strong, but he can be killed in quick bursts if there's a large amount of damage coming his way, but usually he can survive for a long time and will do you very well. Then in terms of supports, you really only have, again, one option, I would say, and that is General Thragg. He is absolutely fantastic and pairs so well with either a full Viltrumite team or 4 Viltrumites at least. His main ability does some damage and is very good at disrupting the enemies. He throws the enemies and stuns them, which is great. Stuns are always great. His passive here deals extra damage to his Viltrumite allies, deal extra damage, which again is great, and gives them a shield at the start of the battle, which actually pairs well with some of the other Viltrumites. His third ability is great at just boosting up his team, especially when one of them becomes low. And his last ability is great as well, because he actually summons an extra Viltrumite to the battlefield, and if you can get this up to a high level, the extra Viltrumite actually will probably do very well. And sometimes with the summon heroes, for example Machine Head, they do summon some heroes to the battlefield, but they don't actually do that much, and they're very, very weak. However, Viltrumites are naturally strong, and if you have a high level Thragg, then this can really help your team. So I would say Thragg is an absolute must if you are building a Viltrumite team. Next up, I would definitely like to talk about the main man, Thragg. He is fantastic, and he is just pretty much great at everything, especially with his skills leveled up. With the skills leveled down, he's still pretty decent, but if you get them leveled up, then you can definitely notice a big difference. His main objective is just deal a large amount of damage, and surprisingly, especially with his passive here, if you get this leveled up, if you have a Viltrumite team, especially, Thragg summoning extra Viltrumites, he boosts his max HP for each Viltrumite on the team, and can actually almost make him a bit of a defender in a way. I have actually run into some teams where they're using a Viltrumite team and they're not using Conquest, they're actually using Thragg instead, because this gives him extra health, and his passive increases his dodge stat, which means that he can actually dodge attacks from the enemies, and then they obviously aren't affecting him, and he can survive longer and sort of absorb damage in a way with that. His fourth ability is obviously just great at dealing extra damage. And especially here, his totem is fantastic, not only at dealing damage, but again, increasing that dodge chance, which allows him to stay alive for much longer, and in some cases, you could potentially use him as a defender. So Thragg is obviously fantastic with that. And Nissa as well is a very, very strong hero. Her main bonus to your team, her main ability is great at sending someone out of the battlefield so you don't have to deal with them. It deals a decent amount of damage as well, but her main thing is her passive here, where she reduces the defense of human enemies, which especially against some of the Coalition of Planets members is very, very, very strong, and means that you can pretty much go through enemies if they have multiple human allies on their team. So yeah, Anissa's main sort of, I guess, strength is this passive. It also increases Viltrumite's critical damage if you get it up to level 15. I think if you get to level 10, yeah, it only is the human debuff, but even level 11, for example, you can get an extra 10% there. But yeah, that's it's a great boost for Viltrumite allies, obviously, but the main thing is the reduction of the human enemies defense. Now, this obviously was changed a bit recently, so if the enemy team does have a human, then the a reduction actually applies to the whole enemy team, as long for basically depending on how many human allies they have. So it doesn't just apply to the human allies on their enemy team, which is great. Third ability is fantastic. The only thing is you do need members of your team to push the enemy for it to trigger. And her last ability is pretty okay, but it isn't triggered that often. So the main thing for her is the human reduction of defense on the enemies, and also if you can get a team that does push the enemy, then she can dart around and deal quite a bit of damage with her third ability, especially when it's leveled up. And speaking of pushing, if we have a look at black and blue suit Invincible now, obviously he's, I guess, not a villain Viltrumite, but he is still a Viltrumite, and he does still work very well with the Viltrumite team. His main ability especially deals a surprising amount of damage, with it being true damage and with it having such a low cooldown. Now I believe, yeah, 16 seconds, and then if you get to level 15 seconds, but either 16 or 15 is still very, very fast. It actually pushes the enemy, so you can kind of pair him very well with Anissa, because every 15 seconds he'll be doing a large amount of damage, and then Anissa can dash through and deal even more damage to the enemy. So incredibly powerful there. His passive is pretty decent, and you know, I've done videos covering all of his abilities in detail, but he's just great at dealing damage. And if you pair him well with like a Canslock, he is just a great damage dealer and will work with any Viltrumite team. Omni-Man as well, I've covered before in previous videos, but he again is just fantastic at dealing damage. Now interestingly, him and I guess regular Invincible are both Coalition of Planets members, so you could potentially incorporate them into a Coalition of Planets team, or do a sort of half and half, which I'll go in over in a minute as well. But yeah, fantastic heroes. Cape Invincible I wouldn't even consider. Thedas, I've seen a few Thedases actually built up, and they haven't really done anything to my team, so I did cover him as well in a video. He is again Coalition of Planets and Viltrumite, but yeah, I really wouldn't say he's worth to have in probably either team, at least right now. It's obviously up to you guys. He's a very cool character, but in terms of in the game, he's actually, I find, not that great. The last I guess consideration here would be Nolan. Now again, there is you know, Lucan and Thula, but just with compared to the other options you have with the Viltrumites, I probably would say they're not worth it. Nolan actually is very strong, and especially now that I myself have got him to quite a high level, and also with the restricted arena, I've actually seen a few Nolans within there, and especially his main ability just deals a huge amount of damage to the team, and he is actually very, very strong. So Nolan would also work especially with his passive, which means whenever a Viltrumite ally or enemy is defeated, he gains an attack bonus. And then he cuts the shields, and he deals extra true damage when he is low HP. But if you are having a team with Viltrumites, obviously it's unfortunate if one of them dies, but he then gets an attack boost if one of them does, and especially because you're probably up against Viltrumites a lot of the time. This passive is actually very strong, especially with Krieg summoning extra Viltrumites to your team. It gives him even more of a chance to get this. The only thing is that he needs to survive for a long time to sort of really see the value of his damage output. But yeah, incredibly strong. Obviously Viltrumites, you know, most people know this, and most people have them in their teams. Obviously we had a look at it in the multiverse arena. If we have a look now potentially at doing a match, we could potentially do a match if there's any Coalition of Planets. I guess this has two of them here. Now Shapesmith I'm a little bit worried about, because he is just that good, but let's see if we can do a full Viltrumite team here. That would be very much very, very fun, and let's see how we get on. Now again, Shapesmith is very good, and so we might lose this, but we should hopefully see the synergy working well. Now Anissa is quite low, but she's doing it right actually, and Thragg, as you can see, is basically untouched. He hasn't taken a single lick of damage and is dealing a large amount of damage to the enemy. And so yeah, he's just fantastic at surviving a long time, especially with his dodge stat leveled up, and especially with his his health being boosted with each of the Viltrumites on the team. You can see that because we are on the same level as the enemy team, we can't just sort of immediately bulldoze through them, but just over the course of the battle, you can see that we are doing very, very well, and the Viltrumites are defeating them. Now there's 10 seconds left. Will we be able to kill them? before the time is up. Let's have a look. Oh, almost. Battle Beast only had a slither of health left, but yeah, as you can see, incredibly effective. So yeah, full Viltrumite team will serve you well. However, if we now have a look at the Coalition of Planets, there aren't as many members of this, but they are still fantastic and very, very strong. So as you can see, there is a bit of crossover here. Again, with Thaddeus, I probably wouldn't recommend him just because he's not that good, but you can incorporate him into the team. He does have some synergies with the Coalition of Planets, but yeah, in terms of the other options, I guess with the crossover, you can see that Omni-Man is obviously here, and regular Invincible. Omni-Man, again, great attacker, great damage output, and isn't really that reliant on the Coalition of Planets or Viltrumite allies. He obviously does well when fighting against Viltrumites with his passive here. But you can probably put him in any team and he'll do well, to be honest. Now, regular Invincible, again, is very similar. He is good. He's a good attacker, I definitely would say. However, he actually does see a better benefit of being with the Coalition of Planets team, because as you can see that with his passive, he now has, in addition to decreasing the ability cooldowns of when fighting with a last line of defense ally, which Omni-Man does include, he also gets an attack boost if he is fighting alongside any Coalition of Planets allies. So level 10 it's 10% and level 15 15%, and it's not the craziest buff, but it is still notable and it is still good. So having regular Invincible in a Coalition of Planets team or in a Viltrumites team does work well, but you especially sees the benefit being with Coalition of Planets allies with that extra attack boost there. Now, probably the main allies, or I guess heroes you can be using with a Coalition's team would definitely be the, I was about to say newly released, but it's not that new anymore, Space Racer. Space Racer works very well with Coalition of Planets allies, and probably in any team really. He is fantastic. He especially is good in GDA ops. In PvP, I haven't really seen him be that effective, but I can definitely see him being, he's at least S tier, regardless. His main ability just does a huge amount of damage and can instantly kill enemies, which is great. His passive is probably where you see the Coalition of Planets synergy. He actually increases his attack for each Viltrumite present on the enemy team, so he is incredibly effective against Viltrumites, which is obviously very nice. And he increases any Coalition of Planets allies defense at level 10 by 7% and level 15 by 12%, which is a big jump, each time an enemy dies. So if you are managing to kill the enemy, even if it's 1 or 2, then the defense buff on any Coalition of Planets allies, so if you have a full team, then they all get a defense buff, which is actually very, very good. So his passive works incredibly well. His third ability is just great because he just is dealing extra damage and can insta-kill enemies if they're low HP and are stunned. And his fourth ability is great because he's just moving around, dealing damage, and being very disruptive. So his main synergy is obviously his passive here, and he is incredibly effective against Viltrumites and with Coalition of Planets allies. Now, something to note there is that his main ability deals obviously a large amount of damage, and this is at level 10, 185% of his attack as energy damage, which is interesting because it's using energy damage. If we now have a look at Tech Jacket, she pairs extremely well with Coalition of Planets allies, but also Space Racer, and you'll see why. So firstly, her main ability is just great because it deals a large amount of damage, again, energy attack, and has a high chance of stunning the enemies, and obviously we know that that helps Space Racer insta-kill them if they're low HP. Then if we have a look at her passive, this is how her and Space Racer work very well, because Tech Jacket increases her own energy attack and that of all allies by 9.5% for each Coalition of Planets member on the team, excluding herself. So she gives herself the buff, but if she is the only Coalition of Planets member on the team, it isn't applied, basically, if that makes sense. So if you have got a full Coalition of Planets team, then that is 4 allies, and at level 10 that is what, 30 38 or something like that, 38% or so energy attack boost, which is just great, but also that is then boosting the damage of Space Racer's main ability, which is very, very good. Also, obviously, her passive is also great because when facing against invaders at level 10, she increases the cooldown of the allies by 25%, and this is just great because it means your team will be attacking with their main abilities more, and obviously doing much better then. And if you can get to level 15 even, then 30% reduction to allies' abilities is also very, very strong. So her passive is very, very good, especially with Coalition of Planets members and especially Space Racer. Her third ability is great at just keeping her, up and running and making sure she doesn't die, because it heals her and gives her a shield when she drops below a certain amount of HP. It's not game breaking, but it is obviously very strong. And her fourth ability is great at just being very disruptive, meaning she can move around, not take aggro, stay alive, deal damage, and is very good. Now, something that is very interesting with Tech Jacket is that with this ability here, she pushes the enemy, and this has a 10-second cooldown. She'll be doing it very, very often. She also has a great totem as well, which just deals a large amount of damage, which is always nice, and it also pushes the enemy. So weirdly, Tech Jacket actually works incredibly well with Anissa, because Anissa third ability is great when you have allies that push the enemy. So weirdly, you can sort of do a hybrid between the two, and I could obviously have a look at that in a second. But yeah, Tech Jacket and Space Racer work very well, but Tech Jacket and Anissa also work very well. If you are looking for a defender for your team, there is only really one option with this as well, and that is Alan. Alan is great. It's difficult to say if he's as good as Conquest. I think Conquest is better, but Alan is great at just surviving. Alan is great at surviving a long time because he can heal up, he can boost his defense, especially with Space Racer's passive. If you defeat enemies, it's boosting Alan's defense, which is already very high. His main ability has a very short cooldown, and is aggroing the enemies, which is always nice, and means that your allies can be freed up to just attack them without them being attacked back. His passive is also fantastic, and let's have a look. He also is great against Viltrumites, because if you can get it all the way to level 15, and obviously that's a bit of a tall ask, but if you are building the team up to a high level, then obviously he does great at boosting energy damage and energy resistance, but he also increases his max HP against Viltrumites for each Viltrumite on the enemy team. So if you are using the Coalition of Planets as a sort of anti-Viltrumite team, then Alan does work very, very well with that. His third ability is just great at keeping him alive, and same with his fourth ability. His third and fourth ability work very well. So if you are building a Coalition of Planets team, then Alan will 100% fit very, very well in there. The last hero, I guess, to then look at within this within the Coalition of Planets is Battle Beast, and Battle Beast is good. Mine isn't leveled up that high because he didn't used to be that good, but Battle Beast is just a very solid attacker, and does give your team life leech when fighting against Viltrumites, which is good. Life leech maybe isn't that game breaking, but definitely can help. However, additionally, when fighting alongside Coalition of Planets allies, he gains an attack boost for every 5% of HP he loses. So if you do have him in a Coalition team, then he does get a nice boost with that. He only needs one at least Coalition of Planets ally to trigger this, but he does obviously boost himself when fighting with Coalition of Planets team members. The rest of his abilities are just great because he just deals lots of damage. So in terms of synergy, there's nothing too crazy apart from just a buff to himself. But yeah, the Coalition of Planets team is very strong. In terms of who is better, it's difficult to say. I would probably say it's still the Viltrumites, unfortunately. Now, there could potentially be a certain virus, maybe totem or artifact being added to the game, which hopefully will be an anti-Viltrumite scourge virus, and this could shake things up again. It could depending on how powerful it is, it could be very bad for the Viltrumites, and if that's launched, then maybe they might not do as well. But in terms of who's better currently, I think it is still the Viltrumites. However, coalition planets are still very, very strong, and you can sort of make a team of a mismatch of both. Obviously, you know, Nolan and Invincible are Viltrumites. Tech Jacket and Anissa work well together, so you can sort of do a mixture. But if you just build a full Viltrumite team, or even a full coalition of team, or even both if you can, then both are fantastic, and both will take you very far in all aspects of the game. I think the Viltrumites still take the edge currently, but I guess maybe with the addition of a Scourge Virus or something like this, then it could be changed. But I'll just play a little around here. We might just easily crush them. I may have gone to a bit of a low level, but anyway, yeah, it's good to see them in action there. But yeah, if you did enjoy today's video, then feel free to leave a like on the video, leave a comment down below what you think. Hopefully this video helped you, and yeah, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. We've had so many new subscribers, it's been amazing. And yeah, I think that should do it for today. So yeah, cheers, and see you in the next one, I guess.